Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where the topic is, what does it take to achieve business agility? My name is Doug Welsby, and I'm the channel manager here at Microsoft. I'm also joined by my colleague, Jose Levy, our practice director of Azure Cloud Services and Agile PPM, and a special guest today, our partner from Agile Rising, Christopher Roosh, a Scaled Agile Gold Partner in SBCT. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit questions. I'll address these questions during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I'll be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted to our YouTube channel. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jose.
Thank you, Doug, for the introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for your time today. We are going to be addressing what it takes to achieve business agility with everything that's going on in the world around us with respect to business conditions, global change due to the pandemic. It's an interesting topic to cover since all organizations are being forced to be more agile. In terms of just some topics here within our agenda, we're broad strokes of what it means to be, what we mean by business agility in enterprise agile. We'll go into lean portfolio management, which we consider to be a starting point. We'll talk about some of the benefits of lean portfolio management to achieve business agility. We'll give you an overview of our Oneplan tool for LPM, and then do a summary and wrap up with our closing. So business agility. So I like to go back and do some research on where these terms come up. So within the Agile Alliance, there's actually within the glossary, it's actually defined, and they make a reference to the 1990s when agile manufacturing was being introduced as a way of improving United States manufacturing competitiveness. So, it's been around for a while. Interesting, within that same article, it says that there is actually no framework or model to implement it. And well, we are in 2019 at the SAFe Summit. Scale Agile Framework came out with SAFe 5.0, and within it, business agility was prominent as the end goal for the organization, the overarching goal for the organization. So we present there, SAFe 5.0 for lean enterprises at the portfolio level. Now, business agility actually is comprised within SAFe of 7 different competencies. So it's actually quite comprehensive in terms of everything that it involves. And you'll note that it's around the customer centricity, which is one of the themes for the Scale Agile framework overall. So we now have, again, launched last year, a way to measure and improve along the line of business agility. So within the Scale Agile framework. Like I said, it's quite comprehensive. There's actually a self-assessment that we've been working with customers. It can be somewhat overwhelming if you go into every one of these areas, especially if your organization is not in the process of an agile transformation or is still adaptive. So nevertheless, it's a useful guide for the organization to achieve change needed in the current environment. Now, there's a lot here, but we believe there's really 3 levers for immediate impact that you can focus on as an agilist or as a practitioner. The first is lean portfolio management, which Chris is going to walk us through. And that's really the ability to connect strategy, funding, and value using Scale Agile framework. The next is operational agility that has components also dealing with strategy agility, the ability to pivot and as needed lean operations, which introduces the lean concepts into the way that we're going to do our work. And then finally, maintaining that lean agile mindset. A lot of what is here is really about mindset, values, and principles that the entire organization has to follow. Now, finally, an important one, and probably one that you can immediately start to impact, is lean agile leadership. So at the leadership levels of your organization, senior leadership teams of your organizations, getting those individuals that manage the organization, have control, to think about the different ways of leading change by example, and leading and changing their mindset towards lean agile principles. So right now, although again there's 7 different competencies, immediately you can within your organization start working on these 3. Let's dig a little deeper into those 3 levers. So this is kind of a interesting comparison. On the left, we have the components of the competency of lean agile leadership. So we have to change the growth mindset. You can see that below we have guidance in terms of the core values, the lean agile mindset, and the 10 safe principles. There's 10 safe principles that we can follow through our transformation. Leadership has to lead by example, so it has to be genuine. They actually have to believe it. They have to allow us as an organization to change into this lean agile way. And then finally, if they believe it, then they will lead us and provide the sponsorship in order to achieve this change within the organization. So I have an article that just came out recently within Harvard Business Review, and it's part of a book that these authors will be coming out with. But it was interesting because it actually painted the picture of an executive team organizing themselves in a way to move the entire organization towards lean agile. And what struck me is that it's not necessarily that the leadership teams want to fight not going agile, and a lot of times they just don't understand how it applies to their role. So it really is about providing guidance in order for them to reach that aha moment on how they have to change and how they have to lead in order to change the organization. The second point is also interesting because once they get it, a leadership team will view it as a continuous improvement program, which means that they will provide enough funding, they will provide enough time, they will get the best people involved in order to reach the business outcome of a safe transformation. The next focus in the organization is the second lever that you can, from the companies that you can work on. Again, it has to do with making everyone aware about the different ways of thinking and working. So you can rely on the guidance from House of Lean, Safe Principles, and the Agile Manifesto, where everything started. And then there is the concept of lean business operations and how you can change the work in order to reduce that delay time, have effectiveness with your deliveries, and move more towards concept of flow in how you work. Strategy agility, having the ability to pivot and to make changes as needed when you've completed your experiments, MVPs of value that you're trying to achieve. And a lot of this has to do with just awareness, just change management within the organization, explaining the why to all of your colleagues at different levels. You're going to be doing this in order to become business agile. So I'm going to turn it over now to Chris, who's going to provide us with an overview of the third level, which is lean portfolio management as a starting point for transformation.
Thanks, Jose. So what we're going to be talking about here is lean portfolio management, what lean portfolio management is, how it's different from traditional portfolio management, and then talk about some tips and suggestions for how to implement LPM in your organization, and then we'll follow that up with Jose showing some tooling options to support the concepts that we're talking about. So the next slide is really what is portfolio management. So fundamentally, what we're talking about with portfolio management is the business leaders need to always balance these two factors. What's the capacity of the organization? How much work can we undertake? How much change can the organization sustain at any given point? And balance that against the organizational business priorities and the outcomes. And those outcomes are typically what we're looking at here, right? The leaders need to solve their most pressing business challenges, the need to achieve their strategic goals, and really the things that are going to differentiate the organization in the future from what it is today or what you're selling today. All of which is, right, what we're ultimately measured on, the delivery of value, the delivery of positive business results. And the other important thing that fits in here is it's not just about building new products and entering new markets. It's also the process of transforming the business and transforming the operational model, including things like implementing Scaled Agile Framework or even implementing LPM itself, right? That takes capacity of the organization. It aligns to the strategic goals of the organization. So this is the constant challenge for leaders, are balancing these big strategic priorities with how much capacity the organization has. So as we go to the next slide, what's this mean in the new world, the new Agile world, the new product-centric environment that companies are transforming towards? Traditionally, portfolio management means to most people a portfolio of projects. And if you look at the traditional definition of portfolio management, it refers to collections of projects and programs. Unfortunately, in a traditional approach to project management and program management, those projects are siloed and they're a traditional waterfall approach. And we're often, as part of an Agile transformation, and very explicitly if you're implementing Scaled Agile Framework, transitioning to organizing around value, becoming a product-centric organization, implementing value stream management or product lifecycle management with these long-lived Agile release trains, long-lived Agile teams that are focused on delivery of value. And what that often means is we're moving away from the concept of projects and programs entirely and focusing on our products, on our service, and ultimately on our customers. So our traditional definition of project management, of portfolio management being a collection of projects, no longer is really sufficient to describe what we're talking about. So what is lean portfolio management? We go on to the next slide. So how's lean portfolio management different? So that traditional approach to portfolio management based on projects wasn't designed for today's rapidly changing environment, our digital economy, our organizations where the development is primarily happening with Agile teams, with modern product management practices. So what we need to embrace is a new form of portfolio management, which is lean portfolio management. And lean portfolio management is really this intersection of strategy, alignment around what our major priorities are, how we execute in a lean and agile fashion, and how we align our budgeting and governance to those new ways of working. So lean portfolio management is really a pretty all-encompassing methodology and approach. And for those of you that are driving lean portfolio management organizations within your enterprise, you really have to balance a number of different skills and collaborations and outcomes, which we'll be talking about here throughout the rest of our talk. But fundamentally, in lean portfolio management, that the underlying goal remains the same for portfolio management. And moving to the next slide, that's balancing the demand with the capacity. Right? So when we're moving towards a lean portfolio management system, we are really rooted in having a clear view of what the capacity of our organization is, applying lean concepts like work in process limits, like visualizing work, using a Kanban system, which, as Jose said, right, lean really comes out of the manufacturing world, and these concepts of the Kanban system of WIP are things that come directly out of that lean manufacturing, which has now become lean IT, and now moving into really the lean agile business model. So fundamentally, we still have that constraint of we can only do as much work as we have capacity for, and this is one of the areas that many portfolio managers have struggled with in a traditional world, that we often see way too many projects in flight, really overloading the system and working on too many things, staying busy but not getting things done. So in the lean portfolio management approach, we're adopting those lean and agile principles to focus on continual delivery of value, limiting how much that we work on so that we can maximize the amount that we get done. So lean portfolio management requires both transparency into the work that needs to be done, transparency into the capacity, and very significantly, alignment on the strategy. If we go to the next slide, got a quote here from Jeffrey Moore, well-known author for books like Inside the Tornado and Crossing the Chasm. And what Moore is getting at here is the really important foundational idea of having strategic alignment at your executive level, which drives all of your priorities and drives how you're going to dedicate the capacity in your lean portfolio that you're managing. And what he's getting to here with this quote, which I'm not going to read, you all can read it yourselves. But this is a really common problem where we don't have alignment on the vision and the strategy. And if you talk to different people within different parts of the organization or different executives, even at the C-suite, you often get wildly different takes on what the most important things for the company to be working on are. And so as lean portfolio managers, what we're really starting with is getting a clear agreement on what the strategic drivers are, what the priorities for the organization are, and then really aligning our execution, our funding, our budgeting to meet those strategic priorities and be able to report back to our business leaders and to our executives that we are executing on that strategy and not executing on pet projects or whatever happens to come up, or whoever yells the loudest, right? We want to be driven by the strategic priorities of the organization. So how do we do that? On the next slide, we talk about the real components of portfolio management, and this is the lean portfolio management triad from Scaled Agile Framework, and this is really kind of showing the core competencies that a well-functioning lean portfolio management organization driving the strategy of an organization needs to have. So the first is understanding the strategy, connecting the strategy for the portfolio to the enterprise strategy and to the strategy of the other portfolios in the organization, identifying what the priorities are, maintaining the vision for that portfolio, and ensuring that the way that we fund our teams and fund the work aligns to that strategy. And then ultimately, it's about creating that lean flow and continual delivery of value. The way that we execute that flow of value at the portfolio level is through the Agile portfolio operations, where we coordinate the execution, coordinate the cooperation between different Agile release trains, between different Agile groups, and with different value streams and products within our portfolio. Part of that lean portfolio operations is supporting operational excellence and making sure that we're using best practices, that we have communities of practice and we're sharing information, and that we have good governance in place to oversee, are we getting the value that we're anticipating? Are our Agile release trains and our teams performing in a way that we expect? Are we seeing good Agile best practices, good collaboration and DevOps and security practices, as well as providing the compliance and the budget oversight and governance that's required at this level. We'll come back and talk about how that budgeting works a little bit later in this talk, and the both opportunity and challenge that moving to a lean budgeting and forecasting model presents from a lean portfolio management level. But before we kind of dig down into that detail, really want to echo something that Jose said earlier about lean portfolio management really being the entry point to driving agility throughout the enterprise, and the need to really embrace a good change management approach and structure as part of your lean portfolio implementation. If we go to the next slide. So what we're laying out here are really the steps towards implementing any strategic change in an organization. And this aligns to John Cotter's organizational change model, as well as to the ADKAR change management model. And really want to reinforce that both business agility and transforming your overall organization with Agile and with Scaled Agile Framework is a major change initiative. Implementing lean portfolio management and implementing new tooling for lean portfolio management is itself also a major change initiative. And so we want to really stress that you need to use those good change management practices, develop a strategy, communicate that strategy, and really sustain it until it becomes built into the fabric of your organization. Also, really importantly, what we're suggesting here is that if you have a business agility strategy, if you have plans to adopt scaled agile framework, implementing the lean portfolio management process can be the sharp edge of the wedge driving that change for the rest of the organization. So don't leave lean portfolio management as the last thing that you do, or don't leave changing your budgeting or funding models until they cause problems for your agile team. Get ahead of it and use it to drive the change throughout the organization. What we have on the next slide is a more specific LPM implementation roadmap. So following that change management model, which is kind of a general approach to change management, we can now drive down into what are the specifics for a successful LPM implementation. Jose, can we go to the next slide? Right. So here's an example of what a strategic roadmap for implementing LPM is. It aligns to that organizational change management model that we talked about on the previous slide. And here you can see that we're gaining alignment, getting buy-in from executives that LPM is the right way to go, getting buy-in from your existing portfolio management and PMO, that we're going to change the way we work, identify how we're going to organize that portfolio, how it's going to be different from our current state, organize around that new way of thinking about value as we're transitioning from projects to products, align our organization and our funding and our budgeting to that new portfolio organization, and then feed our agile teams in our execute and govern stage, right? So now we've really aligned the entire organization to starting with our strategy and our funding through the execution of our teams, and we can monitor that with our ongoing lean agile governance. All right, so that's kind of an overview of lean portfolio management, but we want to talk about some more about what are the actual benefits, why are we implementing LPM, and what can you expect out of LPM, as well as some of the challenges that you need to be ready to face. So first, on the next slide, the benefits. Why are we looking at LPM, right? The big takeaways, what we're trying to achieve here is getting that strategic and operational alignment, knowing what the right thing to build is and building the right thing at the right time, making sure that we're focused on what's important, really driving our organizational priorities and having that continual delivery of value while building in the business agility that allows us to pivot and respond to change. And as we all know, we're living in a world where everybody's having to respond to unexpected change and adapt and look for opportunities to remain competitive and still innovate. So those are the benefits, but some of the things that we need to think about and the challenges are we are talking about significant change. We are talking about as a major organizational initiatives, we're making a significant shift from going from funding projects to funding value streams, which is not something that organizations will typically take lightly, right? You're going to have to align your stakeholders, your IT leaders, your business leaders, your finance leaders, and you're also going to have to really convince everybody that you still have the right controls in place for this change to the budget to happen. So you need to be able to be prepared to talk to your stakeholders about what will change with your Agile budgets and how you'll continue to have the corporate governance and the financial governance that's expected. And the way that we do that is what we call our budget guardrails, which we talk about in more detail on the next slide. With 4 major guardrails, so we're not going to go down into the details of, but these guardrails of ensuring that we know what our right strategic investment priorities are, what's our planning horizons for what are the applications keeping our lights on now, what are the major business money-making applications now, what are our next generation of those applications, what are our real innovation and R&D budgeting going? How do we make sure that we're aligning the right capacity of the organization to our different strategic initiatives? What's our process for approving strategic initiatives, and how do we continually monitor the delivery of value, the engagement of our users, and how do we have a system in place that can really track and monitor and gather these information about these guardrails and metrics in a way that is lean and agile and is aligned to the way that our teams are working. All right, so a specific example of a company that we have worked with to give you a little case study. A major hardware software company, Fortune 500, a significant global organization that we worked with several years ago to really reorganize around value, implementing the scaled Agile framework and doing a full safe implementation that included lean portfolio management, aligning around value, implementing DevOps, continuous integration, and rolling out in one department 18 Agile release trains aligned around value. One of the significant keys to the success here was SAFe and using the lean portfolio management approach within SAFe to align the strategy, budgeting, funding, in particular doing things like looking for opportunities to improve how capitalization is being done and looking at opportunities to optimize the spending of the budgeting and the value that's being delivered. In this particular example, within the department that rolled out 18 Agile release trains, very rapidly within the first year, saw the productivity double, that the delivery of value to the business doubled with the same number of people with no change to the number of headcount, while at the same time showing significant improvements in quality, lower defect rates, and showing very significant increases in customer satisfaction and stakeholder satisfaction. So this is what we're really looking at, right? LPM is about these bottom line business results of delivering more value, driving customer satisfaction, and allowing the business leaders to deliver on their strategic priorities. All right, so that's given the overview of what LPM is and the potential that LPM has. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Jose to talk about how you actually implement this with Oneplan.
Thanks a lot, Chris. So yeah, I want to just give you a brief overview of Oneplan for LPM. So for those of you that don't know Oneplan, We are a strategy or execution portfolio management platform where you can actually plan and track portfolios, project plans, from bringing that data, pushing down that data to any of the systems where the actual work management is taking place, and then bringing it back up so you can see what is going on and tying it to your strategies and portfolios coming top down. For LPM, we actually have a specific solution. I just want to make a point about our Agile transformation journey. And basically, most organizations, are moving to the left, shifting left in some form. They have parts of the organization that are currently involved in a Agile transformation. The point we're trying to make here is that unless you actually go all the way and shift all the way to the left with Scale Agile and LPM, that's really where you're going to get the full benefit. So you could be within an adaptive state for a longer period of time. However, you will not achieve the outcomes that are expected from an Agile transformation and an enterprise Agile transformation. So in this scenario that we're going to paint, it is an organization that has moved to the left and is looking to get all of those benefits from going all the way to the left with Scaled Agile. If you're going to be in this adaptive state for a longer time, it could be suboptimal, and you will not reach those benefits. So Oneplan for Agile PPM or Enterprise Agile. As I said, we have an overarching solution that allows you to plan portfolios and items within the portfolio, and for any Agile framework. We have a preference towards Scale Agile, but if you happen to be practicing another Enterprise Agile framework, we can configure it and reflect it within the solution. You see here the components that are included within Oneplan for Enterprise Agile. We have a portfolio component, a work plan component. If you're interested in tracking financials and resources, we can do that, and obviously then have it all within a reporting set of dashboards. I think we're fairly unique in the sense, like I said, that we're flexible and can accommodate multiple Enterprise Agile frameworks, but also that we can bring in data from any team planning tool. So that's where our integration platform comes into play. And again, having been doing this for some time, we can basically bring in any team planning tool. So that's Oneplan for Enterprise Agile. As a Microsoft partner, we do highlight that we live within the Azure cloud and can integrate any and all of the Microsoft tools. So I've noted here Jira, because we have a lot of customers using Jira, and it is a prominent team planning tool. So depending on what you're using, you will be able to integrate that work and that data directly within Oneplan. So I am within Oneplan, and I will start by playing the role of what we call contributors within the portfolio, which is really any role that is defining top-down strategy, portfolios, value streams. So here I'm on a summary level. We have different view areas that I'm going to walk you through quickly, but this reflects the lean portfolio management hierarchy. And one very quick way of seeing everything that's within our portfolios is opening it up. And you can see that this hierarchy has a portfolio, it has value streams within the portfolio, it has epics that belong to the value streams, and then finally it has features. That's really the lowest level that we recommend using within Oneplan, although you could actually take it down to stories if you wanted to. We recommend that is done in your preferred team planning tool, and we'll show that in a minute. Just for this scenario, I'm going to focus on FabricCam. So I've opened the portfolio, I see my value streams. You can see on the very left that I have icons that show me where the team is collaborating. In this case, it's within Microsoft Teams, and what team planning tool they're using to manage sprints and everything within them. So we have here Jira and we have Azure DevOps, which are, again, the two most popular ones. I can go down and look at my features. There's additional data that we can bring in, and I'll show that in a second. But again, at this level, top down, I'm looking at budgets and benefits for the epics and value streams, which is really what lean portfolio management is all about. Just want to note that at every one of these levels, we do have the ability to define the canvases. So whether it's a value stream canvas, whether it's a lean business case for the epic, and I'll go there in a second just so you can see. We can actually get to the detail. It's really important, especially when you're doing lean portfolio management, to have the ability to articulate all of this. So we do have it within the solution. And you can see that I'm reflecting here my lean portfolio Kanban for the epics. Coming back to my Fabricam value stream, if I wanted to, I'm going to just flash some views here. If I wanted to actually go top down, we do have strategic themes that we've incorporated here in order to do alignment. So again, at the very, very top, lean portfolio management begins by aligning with those strategic themes, making sure that our portfolios and our value streams are providing results that are going to allow us to achieve our key results. So here's our objectives and our key results. Again, these have, if you wanted to go through and define them in detail, we have canvases or detailed pages that can be created for them. So the next level that I want to go into is my lean portfolio summary. Back and open up this. You can see here that we can incorporate the data from the team planning tools. So here I have what are the benefits that this epic is providing, who is actually working on the features that comprise the epic, what arts do they belong to, the teams that are leading it, and then some metrics around stories, completed stories, and remaining stories. Again, just high level because we're not within our team planning tool. If I wanted to, though, I could go, and I've opened it in another tab, but I'll go ahead and show. I could go drill deeper into a specific epic, and then I could actually see the backlog that's being brought from my team planning tool. So you can actually bring in that data from the team planning tool. If I wanted to go there, I have it open here. So, but basically you connect to your team planning tool where that work is actually getting done. If you want to go see it there, just for simplicity's sake, I already opened it for time's sake, but here I have my Azure DevOps, and here I have my support customer using mobile. We do provide for Azure DevOps Oneplan in a fused UI. So that's what you're seeing right now. I've made the jump to Azure DevOps, and if I'm actually planning the epic and want to see the data that was planned top down, I can actually do that here, and it will match again the information that we were looking at Oneplan. So once again, are my details and any other information that I want to render. In this fused UI, also, by the way, we do provide you Oneplan directly with it. So if you wanted to, you could look at the portfolio directly within Oneplan. Again, same concept in terms of being able to do top-down planning and drill down to what I want to see. I'll go back to Oneplan now just so we can go into a little bit of our boards capability. So within boards, you see that you have the ability to basically create your preferred views in order to show the flow of work. Within strategic themes, I showed you that we recorded them. So here we have, very simple board that shows our strategic themes with the epics and the epic budget that is taking place. I do have a backlog in the event that I wanted to, start doing alignment directly within the tool. You can see that in this case, the epic card has, information that I want to show. I can't actually control what I see within the epic card, so that's very nice. I actually have some constraints here. So I have decided to invest $500,000 in growing the business, $250,000 in customer excellence, and $1 million in increased productivity within my business unit. And you can see my totals. And here we have an issue in terms of having too much investment into customer excellence as I've actually achieved it. These are active boards, which means that, I could, again, for the right epic, I could take it back, and put it in the backlog if I need it, or likewise, increase funding in order to, make sure that I've met my constraint. We can continue and show my epic Kanban by value stream. And so again, in SAFe, it's about bringing the top down with the bottom up, and it happens at the program level. But so here, before actually going to the program level, I'm showing you by value stream what am I investing in terms of my epics and where they are at in terms of the lean portfolio Kanban. And if I needed to, I could also look at my backlog in terms of things that have been ideas that I might have been created and haven't been actually placed within my Kanban. At any time, by the way, if you wanted to get more information on any of this, I could go to my quick edit and look at specific data points for the epic. You'll note that we have constraints here, as I said before, and you can actually define what they are. In this case, we have some WIP limits for the work that we have within each bucket, and you can see here that we're not doing too good on analyzing, so we can't really take on new epics in order to develop lean business cases. We have to move one over. We have plenty of availability within our backlog before we actually take it to the teams for implementing, because we are again at the epic level. If we go down one more level, then we would be in PI planning. And sorry, let me go to board PI planning. So we want to now surface features within my program increment, and this is really right now in this remote working environment where a lot of attention is being done. The way that SAFe Scale Agile was created, it's a lot about collaboration and having participatory, highly participatory and collaborative program planning events. Now we have to do it remote, so this is the kind of tool you can use and actually to drive that. So we have our program increments at the top. I do have some story point WIP limits by increment. Again, they're representative. You can see where we're over here in our second PI. We do have ret strings in order to drive dependencies, which are really important as part of PI planning. And we have our backlog here, which is the major activity in terms of our program increment planning. We know how are we going to manage the next PIs, complete the one, go over the one that we've just completed, and then commit to our next PI, our features. So now we're at the feature level. You could have, we're doing this by teams, by the way, but if you actually wanted to have arts or wanted to have any of the breakdown, you could. And this can be actually, let's go to medium so we can see that, our entire pipe board. If we needed again to go look at details in terms of maybe even stories that are coming up, we could look at them within this board. Additionally, if you wanted to do, program Kanban by art, this is another popular view. So where are our features currently by art? So we have here our different arts within the program Kanban. We could be looking at, bringing in new work, and same concept in terms of being able to, minimize in order to see where everyone is. You can also collapse them if you're just focused on one art. So as you can see, there's a lot of flexibility here in terms of being able to represent features in your epics. And what I'll do is I'll close with our roadmap capability. So since we're on the lean portfolio management side, you can actually, produce value stream roadmaps or product roadmaps for that matter. Product is another popular one where you actually get to see what is going to be delivered. Here we're using our quarters as program increments, and you can see that we can actually also mark our releases within our roadmap. If we wanted to share with anybody, we can print it, and then I'll go to product just so that can't have a roadmap without products. Here's our products, and same concept in terms of being able to see where what we're going to be delivering by product and when that is going to take place. All of the data is within a reporting dashboard, and we use Power BI as the reporting platform. This is a content pack that's created more for lean portfolio management, but really any of the data that I showed can be rendered within these dashboards in order to get you, the specific insights that you need from your lean portfolio management data. Here we're using wish-driven prioritization score. If you needed to roll up again any of your metrics, whether it's financial or team metrics, you can do so with our content packs in Power BI. So with that, I will go back to the presentation and just close our webinar for today. So in summary, today we talked about lean portfolio management being an effective starting point to achieve business agility. We talked about all the different components of business agility. There's some that you can directly impact through your knowledge and leadership as Agilist. When it comes down to bringing or tying top down with bottom up, LPM is a great starting point. Those discussions are with leadership also, by the way, which will help support the overall initiative of doing enterprise agile. LPM, lean portfolio, is a major change initiative. We don't want to understress that. So you have to treat it as such. Having gone through prior change initiatives, you probably understand what that means in the organization, and that it equates to getting the right sponsorship. We talked about the Agile C-suite concepts. Funding, obviously. There's a lot of different components that are going to have to be invested in order to get to business agility. And then time, in general, it can take anywhere between 1 to 3 years to, show any measurable improvement. And it's more towards the longer term if you look at all of the case studies that are available of organizations that have already gone through this. Scale Agile framework, it's an enterprise Agile framework, and it's applied in its entirety. So although we talked today about lean portfolio management, don't cherry pick. You have to actually, if you're going in this direction, then you will do lean portfolio management. You will have to define your value streams. You will have to do program increment planning in order to get the benefits that we've talked about today. And then finally, we showed Oneplan, which is an example of tooling that you're going to require in order to manage the change to lean portfolio management. And Chris talked about the expertise that is required in order for you to achieve a safe transformation. So just in closing, for those that don't know us, thank you for being part of our webinar. We are Wickersoft, a global partner of Microsoft in helping organizations achieve business transformation. We have, as you can see, a number of different competencies, and we are very proud to be the partner of the year for PPM for Microsoft. Agile Rising, thank you very much, Chris, for joining us. It was a great overview of lean portfolio management and what's required. Agile Rising is a Scale Agile partner, Gold Agile partner, currently engaged in all of the training, knowledge transfer, consulting in Enterprise Agile and also in technology business management, which is an important part of lean portfolio management. We have our application in AppSource if you want to try it. So feel free to go and use it. It allows you to actually do a short trial. If you need an extended trial, you can contact us. It's also available in the Visual Studio Marketplace for those organizations that are using Azure DevOps. Agile Rising will be delivering a lean portfolio management course May 19th through the 22nd remotely. It's the new mode for Scaled Agile training partners. I participated in some of those recently, and they're very, very good. So if you're interested in learning further and becoming trained, there is a class coming up from Agile Rising. So in terms of our next steps, we actually created a House of Lean challenge. It's just a quick survey to see how aligned you are to the pillars and foundations of the House of Lean. If you're interested in going deeper into the topics that we talked today, we have a lean portfolio management readiness check, and it's just a conversation on what it really is going to take in your specific context to be successful in this first step. And like I said, there's a link to our trials for Oneplan for lean portfolio management. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining. Please look for our future webinars. We will be doing some additional ones in May on business architecture and its importance for an agile transformation, and as well as doing a business case on lean portfolio management and a lean portfolio management initiative. So please stay tuned to our webinar so you can join us and participate. Again, thanks a lot, and look forward to seeing you again in our next webinars. Goodbye.